And joining us for more on the Prime Minister's ongoing visit to the Indo-Pacific area is Ambassador Ajay Bisaria. Ambassador Bisaria is a former Indian envoy to Canada, Pakistan, Poland and Lithuania. Ambassador Bisaria, welcome to DD India News Hour. Let's start with energy security, if you will, Ambassador. How do you assess the agreement with Australia for supply of uranium to India?
Thanks, Ramesh. Great to be here.
Welcome.
I think this agreement on energy, there are three main outcomes, I would say, of the visit: energy, economics, and defense. And I think the energy agreement would jump out to me, particularly the uranium administrative arrangement, because what it essentially does is makes or smoothens the path for another source of uranium for India to fuel India's growth ambitions, India's ambition to have 100 gigawatts of energy from nuclear sources by 2047. And that's a huge ambition to scale it up 10x or more from the current about 8 gigawatts of capacity that India has. So what this agreement does, in essence, is it operationalizes the potential of the 2014 civil nuclear deal that India and Australia signed, and now makes it possible for the safeguards issue to be taken care of. The Atomic Energy Agency safeguards the end use of the uranium is for civil nuclear purposes. And this will open the doors for the actual contracts to be signed between private agencies and the nuclear importers on the Indian side. And from India's point of view, Australia becomes an additional source of uranium to the existing source. You would recall that India signed an agreement with Canada, and there would be robust supplies coming in from Canada. India also sources from Kazakhstan. So I think this becomes a very important source for uranium and therefore energy security for India.
Ambassador, on uranium, before we talk about defense and sports, for instance, there's one issue that's been talked about a lot in the last several hours, and that is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, since you referred to the 2014 agreement, in the year 2010, Australia ruled out selling uranium to India, but the ice began to melt in 2014, as you said, when the two nations inked a civil nuclear cooperation agreement. But actual commercial exports remain stalled for various reasons. So the question is, what has changed over the last few years for Australia to now agree to sell uranium to India?
Well, geopolitics has changed. The nature of the India-Australia relationship has changed. The strategic partnership has deepened. Trust has deepened. And the nuclear business is one that requires a great deal of trust between countries, because it is finally a sensitive issue. It can become politically a sensitive issue. And therefore, we are on the path of smoothening this supply chain of uranium. It is, of course, in Australia's interest to be able to export that uranium to India. At this moment, Australia exports coking coal, for instance, to India. So I think there is a dramatic change in the overall geopolitics and in the bilateral relationship, which makes that trust possible, which would enable and facilitate a trade in a sensitive area like uranium. But of course, we need to recognize that finally it'll depend on the contracts to be signed with the private sector suppliers in Australia, and that is some heavy lifting that still needs to be done.
Indeed. Before we talk about defense and security, Ambassador, may I ask you about sports diplomacy, for instance? Australia's, we are told, Big Bash League will play its historic first match outside of Australia here in India. The season opener between the Melbourne Renegades and Perth Scorchers, we are told, is scheduled for 12th December in Chennai. Also, both sides jointly unveil the India-Australia sports collaboration roadmap. What did you think of cricket or sports diplomacy?
Well, I think this is soft power diplomacy. Australia is a sporting nation. These are important issues for Australia, and we have a strong history of playing cricket, of rivalry on the cricket ground as well. So I think this is what bolsters the core diplomacy, which is in defense, in economic issues, in energy. But this certainly adds and rounds off the relationship in a very healthy way. And I think there's a lot of mutual benefit to be had from these strong sporting links.
And finally, to the big ticket item on the bilateral agenda, Ambassador, defense and security. What did you make of the outcomes on that front?
Well, defense and security certainly is a newer area of collaboration. India and Australia are both part of the Quad. There's a certain geopolitical suspicion both countries have of China that comes into play, and both for defense and maritime security, deepening this partnership is a big change. Both the leaders talked about, and the joint statement talks about a step change in defense. So they're really hoping to move the defense relationship to another level. But the other important part which Prime Minister Modi himself highlighted in the CEO's forum and in the economic conversation is the economic potential for Australia to invest in India. Australia, for instance, the invitation was for the Australian pension funds, which have assets under management of about $4 trillion and have investment in India of only about $3 or $4 billion, which is Australia Super, the largest pension fund of Australia, has made an additional commitment of about $300 million to invest in NIIF, the National Infrastructure Fund of India. But there is a great deal of potential to do a lot more, and the Indian Prime Minister said clearly to the CEOs that he would hold pensioners' funds in sacred trust, which means that India would, give excellent returns and protection to this investment. And just to give you a sort of benchmark comparison, from Canada, which has about $2 trillion, $2.5 trillion assets under management, the pension funds invest, and as some investment firms put in $100 billion into India over the last decade. Australia is just beginning. It has $3 or $4 billion, but there is a huge potential to multiply this investment and to build this trust in the growing Indian economy, which is giving huge returns to these pension funds as well as sovereign funds, and of course, indeed, to any private capital that might come in. So I think that rounds off the sort of strategic partnership India and Australia are building, that you have an energy partnership, you have a defense partnership, but you also are looking for a stronger economic partnership where these kind of investments would strengthen the economic linkages.
Absolutely. I'm afraid that's all we have time for. May I thank you, Ambassador, for joining us and sharing your thoughts, your perspectives with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.